Kamen Rider tier list. It's me! I'm the guy that wants you to like the video. Come on, why aren't you doing it? Just like the video! It's so easy, so simple, so fun, right? Clicking buttons is fun, make number go up, make me happy. It really helps out, helps the channel a lot, helps this video a lot, and I'd really appreciate it if you just liked the video. Please, just like the video! Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So for this tier list, since I haven't seen all of these shows, but I still want to rank all of them, I'm going to rank the suit design, or just what I know about the show in general. And then from there, whatever I do know, I'm going to add on to it. So for instance, if we look at the original Ichigo suit, I like the design of that. I like the darker colors, and the red stands out comparatively. But I generally don't like the show. I think that a lot of the Showa charms are lost on me because I'm a modern person who grew up in the modern age, so that kind of brings it down for me despite particularly liking the suit. So I think I'll rank it a C for now because I like where it stands. Going on to V3, I think the suit looks ugly. The middle piece looks absolutely terrible, and I think the chest design doesn't give it any favors. And so I'm gonna rank him an F. Now for X, like, it's a 70s design, so it's not that great either. I like the cool implementations of X in the suit and in the scarf and stuff. I like the Rydell stick, that's pretty iconic to me. I think I might rate him a C along with Ichigo. For Amazon, God, Amazon. There's a lot of iconic stuff here. I think that Amazon is, if we're just basing it on the suit alone, would be pretty high because of the Daisetsudon and the Amazon. I think that those things are pretty iconic. Not even just for him, but for the Rider series as a whole. That being said, I don't know much about his story. I know that it's a lot darker, and for that, I'm willing to put it at B, just because I think the darker elements are more interesting, and I kind of like the idea of him being a more savage beast hero. For Stronger, I think that the Stronger suit has very much aged. I don't like the material that his chest is built out of. The rhino horns, though, do look bad. I don't particularly like them. I think the neon green is maybe going a little too far as well. I think maybe making it a little bit darker would make it better. Although that would make the suit overall darker, and I think it needs kind of lighter stuff to it. So I'm feeling D here. Kind of like the sparked up form, but I'm not really feeling it. Sky Rider is just worse Ichigo, but he can fly now. I really hate the tan on his suit. So I think I'm going to put him in F tier. But his helmet is one of the better ones, I will say. I do like his helmet, probably the most out of every Showa rider here so far. Super One has tassels, so he's going in D tier. Yeah, I like the silver. I like how he has the ability to change his hands. Although, that being said, his suit design doesn't really blow me away or anything. So I think I might just put it on C. As you may or may not have noticed, I'm putting a lot of the Showa riders lower. I'm trying to keep in mind the time that they came out as well. Like, not all of the Showa suits are bad, but like Zekross, dude, I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm not sure if I really like it. Whenever I see him, like, compared to some of the newer suits, you can definitely tell it's old. Like in the recently announced Tycoon special. I think the belt is interesting, and the fact that it's yellow. I think I would have preferred it to be green. This was the 10 Riders Combined movie, which does lend itself to being cooler. I also think the suit design isn't that bad, so I feel comfortable putting him in B. Black. Ooh. I've seen the first, 2 or 3 episodes of Black, and it definitely has some of the Showa things that I don't like about it. But if we're just going based off the suit alone, I definitely would say it's an A. I really like the smoke that comes off of him when he transforms. That feels very iconic for me. And there's just something about his sleeker design compared to Black RX that I think really makes it shine. And I think that the black suit is the definitive Showa era suit because there's nothing I hate about it. And it looks really good for being a simple Bugman. Now, I did just mention Black RX, and I don't like the collar. I genuinely don't like the collar. It's iconic. I think it looks good for what it is, but I don't like it as a concept. I feel like the suit isn't bad, but it feels like it's just like they tried to do something with the black suit, and this is what you got. It feels a little less unique, a little less original. I'm feeling B here. I think B is the right answer for this. Shin. Now, I have not seen the Shin movie, but I think the suit design is really freaking awesome. Despite it being a kind of generic Bugman, as the series gets away from that, I think they kind of progress and become better. But for right now, I like that they changed it up and went for the gross. What a lot of the 70s shows do best is the horror elements rather than the goofy elements. And I really like it because of that. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of all time of all the rider suits, but I do particularly like it because of the grotesque and horror elements. And then also Shin is just a sad, sympathetic character, which I think lends to me liking it. And now I'm going to rank these two as 1 because they're basically the same. I like J. I think it's very similar to Black in being one of the definitive Showa suits. I don't like how it has the V3 trope of having the white thing go all the way up. And so I'll put it in B because it's basically just a black suit but worse for me. I think the sleekness is cool, but there's some things I don't like about it. And J is the same. Not much I can say beyond that. Kuga is the definitive Kamen Rider suit, okay? With the triumphant horns, the red coloring, this has everything I want in a Kamen Rider suit. The big bug eye, the simple belt. It's everything about Kamen Rider Kuga is definitive Kamen Rider for me. The gold looks absolutely amazing, and even when he changes colors and his form changes, I think they still managed to make it look really good. And I really like how the suits evolve as the show does with his lightning forms, his rising forms. They add more gold accents to the suits, making them feel more full. And then I've also seen Kuga, and so there's a lot of emotional attachment to that. And just Kuga's willingness to save the people is really inspiring. It really catches. I can't put him anywhere else but S. Agito is very similarly great for me. I really like the Agito suit. I like the gold and black color. It's a little more basic than the Kuga one, but it makes up for it with the red eyes kind of standing out more, and the blinding light of his transformation being really cool as well. Although, saying that, I think some of the gimmick toys that Agito has produced has been cooler than Agito. I really like the Agito Ride Watch, for instance, because of the shiny gold and silver that it is. I'm not sure if I particularly like the way that Agito's form shifts work, because he just gets a different sleeve, which I'm not sure if means much to me. I'm going to put him in an A. I still think his suit works really well, but I think it is not the masterclass of suit design as Kuga's is. Ryuki. With Ryuki, I think that the night theme comes through really well, and I just think the drag visor is such a cool accessory, and it's so synonymous with Ryuki, and it's just really cool. I want to give him points for that because it's just such a cool design. Although that being said, I don't like his undersuit. Not the fact that it's red, but the fact that it's one solid material. It's when it moves, the whole undersuit moves, even the armor bits on the legs, and I don't necessarily like that. I like the detailing in that, but I wish that the suit was more separated towards the bottom, because it can get kind of a sea of red in a way that is less appealing than Kuga or Agito. I still really like the drag visor. I'll put him in A. I don't want to put all the Heisei Riders above, because they do have the advantage of being more modern. But with that being said, I have to give respect where respect is due. Some of these suits are genuinely fantastic. Like Faiz. If you've seen Faiz's suit glow in the dark, you know why he deserves to be in S tier. Especially with the Faiz edge. My god, that thing looks gorgeous. And the same thing does apply to Kaiksa and Delta. Although I don't like Blaster as a final form. I think the colors don't work there. But that's the only Faiz suit I don't like. Blade though, I like the design of the Blade Rouser a lot, which I think carries the suit in some way. But I also just I don't particularly like how small his eyes are. It kind of makes his face seem tiny for some reason, and I don't necessarily know how to explain it. I really like the belt buckles on his suit. I like kind of the card aesthetic that he has throughout. I haven't seen Blade, but I know the ending to Blade, and I think I'm fine with C. I think C is a comfortable place for me. Since I can put Hibiki at D and feel comfortable with that, because despite the really cool coloring and texture on his design and kind of the transition from purple to red on his arm, I think the overall Oni design kind of takes away from the general things that make a Kamen Rider to the degree where I think it feels out of place, and I feel like that's a bad thing. I don't hate it. There are a lot of things I like about Hibiki's suit. I think that the music design of Hibiki is really good, but I just think that's where he goes. Gosh, Heisei biased, am I right? Kabuto is A tier. Kabuto has one of the more definitive Kamen Rider suits, like, ever. It's armored yet sleek. It works really well. Whenever I am drawing a generic Kamen Rider, I always go back to his shoulder pad. There's so much about Kabuto that's really cool, especially with the casting off. Gosh, these suits are spectacular. They're one short of S tier, because when comparing it to Kamen Rider Dino, out of the park, bro. Dino did Kamen Rider designs so well. Because the suits themselves, I like how they incorporated the train aesthetic through the masks coming onto him and then unfolding. That's so iconic and cool to me. And then I really like how the suits are given personality through the acting of the suit actor. And how you really feel like Momotaro's or Kintaro's in there. It really speaks to the level of acting that was done there, because it's just really good and really cool. And the suit works really well. Kiva, I feel like Emperor form kind of like does a lot for me, but not a lot of the rest of them. His suit does feel kind of bland. I like the idea they're going for, but I don't think they went all the way with it in a direction that I would have wanted them to go. The rider kick is where the suit shines the most, though. Just seeing him fly down from the moon is really cool, and his symbol being cracked into the ground is awesome. The suit is kind of too bulky. It doesn't really fit what I would want from a Kamen Rider design. Decade's suit initially seems kind of weird, and like I have no idea what's going on here, like with the card aesthetic. But then once you like see some of the smaller details, like the little yellow jewel on his middle card, and like how the cross on his shirt is supposed to be like a 10 for the 10 riders that came before him, it does become a little bit better for me. It's still not a great design, I'll be honest. Even having the Decade figurized, I still think this design is kind of weak. Although I do like Decade as a show, despite the design being weak. I think C is comfortable for him. I mean, I put Ichigo at C, I shouldn't feel bad about that. Double was my favorite writer show for a long time. I'm biased. Double is just fucking awesome and amazing, and he deserves to be there. I'm again biased. I love O's as a show, and I think that the metal combos, like, that's just such a cool idea. You can have so many different, like, suits from that, and, like, the fact that they didn't even have all the possible combinations within the show just speaks to how genius this, like, idea is. And gosh, I really would like to see more appearances from him, just to see like some more combinations, because O's has just so many different forms. Bias section to the max. No, I'll put him down. I think Forze, his astronaut aesthetics do look really cool, but the suit feels a little too well, because it feels too connected. His shoulder pads should have been like a disconnected piece rather than like folding under his chest armor. That kind of does a lot of bad for me. And then his head also, his antennas do help to give it more of a shape, but it feels like it's just a generic cone head, and I wish that there was like more on the sides to kind of make it like thicker up top. Kind of like how you see Kiva's, how his horns kind of stick up. I think if they did something with like maybe the ends of the ears kind of made it stick up, and so there's a little bit more kind of going on there, it would have been better. I think that the switches look really good. Generally, like, all the different Astro switches onto Forze's base form looks really good. And dude, Cosmic isn't doing it for me. Cosmic is definitely a terrible final form. I feel like Meteor is the best instance of Forze design. Wizard, I have similar problems with, but the show doesn't carry it. Wizard wasn't a great show for me. I think some of the ideas were neat, but shit, I'll even put him down there. I think his chest is way too bulky. I think I really like the cape, but I feel like the rest of his like armor feels a little too like bulky and connected. I wish there was more segmentation in the gems on his chest. They were layered so that like they popped out a little bit more, so that they made more of an outward curve. Gaim, the show carries Gaim. Okay. I feel like the only Gaim suit I particularly like is Warlord Baron and Kachadoki, and I don't particularly like any other form. The base forms feel incomplete in some way. They feel like they're lacking. Kiwami just feels so under-armored, and I hate the pokey head that he has, the cone head. But the show is really good, though. I'll put him in C. I think C is fine. Drive. His suit is very sleek, but it definitely, for me, Drive has been cemented as the one before Ghost. Not that I don't like Drive, it's just he feels like a 29, you know, like the one before the impactful one. I like the back tones to his suit. And when I'm like looking at all the writers and where I placed them, he feels like he fits in the most in A. And that's where I'm going to put him. But I'm going to put Ghost in S because Ghost's suit is fucking amazing. And nothing the show does can stop me from putting it there. The suit design in Ghost is phenomenal. Seeing those things glow in the dark is where they're meant to be. I just can't think of putting Ghost any lower just because of how goddamn cool the Ghost suit design is. Like, holy shit. And then with that, X8 is also carried by his show because X8 was the first show I watched while it was airing. I have bias towards X8. It's kind of wild, kind of weird. I like the special effects. I like Hyper Muteki. I think Hyper Muteki was really well done. A lot of the other suits don't particularly do it for me. They feel a little weird, like they're over-designed. I feel like putting him next to Gaim feels about right because they're in a similar situation. I feel the same about Build as I do about Drive, and the fact that they feel like the one before the important one, and they also, while they are very sleek and work really well, they don't feel like they're blowing me away. I feel like Rabbit Rabbit and Tank Tank are like the only suits in Build that particularly blow me away, and so I feel like putting Build in A really works there. Hear me out, okay? I know not a lot of people like GL, but GL is probably right now currently my favorite season of Kamen Rider. Well, wow. Aside from Geats. I like Gio's suit because of the watch aesthetic. I like the kanji on his face. I just think that's so cool and such a reference to the Japanese origins of the show. I like Grand Gio and how extra he is. I like Oma Gio and how extra he is. There's nothing bad about Gio's suit design to me. I just think that every suit in that show pops off, especially Gio though. And hey, 01's basically the same story. Every suit in that show just pops off. Like, there is actually 0 suits in that show that I dislike. Overall, generally, these suits are top tier. These suits really do represent the beginning of a new era, and they work really well for what they are. I feel like Saber is in a similar position to Kiva and Wizard. I don't particularly like the suits. The book aesthetic doesn't really do it for me. Neither does the swords. I think the dragon is cool, but he doesn't always have that. And, I mean, not all the writers always have that. And when you look at someone like Blades and he just has the lion on his chest, but not the other two, it looks really weird. I haven't seen Saber, so I couldn't really tell you how those suits evolve, but I generally think that that's the right place for him based off what I heard about the season and based off of how I feel about his suit. Revise. I was really excited when we got a Kamen Rider that was based off of dinosaurs. Okay, that made me really happy because I made an OC like that when I was in 5th grade. So seeing that on the screen got me really hype and excited, and then I watched Revise. I didn't particularly like the show. Every design after Rex didn't really do it. I didn't really like the genome. I didn't really like Buried Rex. I feel like he was a lackluster design for me, especially not changing Vice. And I didn't really watch the show after that, so I can't really say anything. But I feel like that's the right place to put him. The suit is slick. I'll give him that. The references were cool rather than the suits themselves. Which, I mean, that still lends itself to being good. I don't necessarily like a lot of the aesthetics around Revive, so I'll leave him there. We all know Geats would be S tier. Geats is a phenomenal show, has phenomenal suits, everything about Geats is amazing. Geats would be S. And that's my Kamen Rider tier list, based off of the suit design, and then occasionally the show whenever I felt like the show mattered more. And that's it. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back next time with some more phenomenal content. Goodbye.